and welcome to Combat Thoughts. I'm Robbie.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Alex.
We're going to take a deeper look at the culture and philosophy behind martial arts.
Cheers for joining us, James. So, as always, the first question is, how did you get into martial arts?
I got in, I guess you could say, late. I started when I was 15. It was after I'd watched The Ultimate Fighter, UK versus USA. I'd seen like bits of MMA before. Like I remember seeing Czech Congo and sort of a massive geared up people thinking, man, they look pretty fucking cool. But it was The Ultimate Fighter, UK versus USA that I seen, and it was on Channel 5 USA. And that's where instantly I knew, fuck me, like this is what I want to do.
Was that the Bisping Dan Henderson one?
No, this is actually Andre Winner.
Yeah.
Which is strange, right? Because then Andre Winner went on to coach me, which is the first glimpse of MMA was, my coach, my future coach, But it was a great season. Still my favorite to this day.
Agreed. Yeah, that season is amazing.
Mm.
So then how did that progress through? This was pretty good. Like what? Because was Lions your first gym you went to?
Oh, no. I like many people end up at like a Dojo first. Yeah. I didn't know my ass from my elbow. You know what I mean? I remember, again, like I'm a typical young boy in the sense that if I see somebody huge and scary looking, I thought, man, that dude knows how to fight. Yeah. So organically, I gravitated towards, let's say, Jeff Monson. If you've known Jeff Monson, I thought that dude looks pretty fucking cool. And then that's where I went down a rabbit hole of American Top Team. And in Coventry, in my city, there's an American Top Team affiliate. Now, I didn't know that all you have to do is pay whatever, fucking $100, and you become an affiliate. I just thought, Jeff Monson's going to be teaching me. This is amazing. So I go there, again, not knowing my ass from my elbow. There's I had a karate guy of some sort. I remember I did a one-to-one with him first. He put me in a triangle choke, and I didn't even choke. And I thought, nah, he must know his stuff still. So I went there, paid him my money and whatever, signed the contract. And I was there for about a year and thought I was pretty handy. And then when I got to just before 16, went to Lions Gym that had just opened. Mm-hmm. And then I got my ass handed to me. And I thought, okay, cool. Like, this is not a good gym. I need to move to Lions. And then that's where I've been since.
Lions is a tough mat. You don't catch slouches going.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Gym
then,
full of killers.
That's it. Especially with James on the mat, he's beating the shit out of people when I was there.
No, it's a bit more even nowadays. There's some good people there now.
So how did that progress then into kind of competing? Did you always want to compete? Was it?
Yeah, I've always been into fighting. I played a bit of rugby when I was younger. I was getting into fights on the rugby pitch. Me and my friends almost made a fight club at school. When we saw bits of MMA, we had a little part in the playground as such where the teachers wouldn't go and they couldn't see. It was like a ditch. So we'd go there and then have a little wrestle and whatnot. Come back after lunchtime, covered in mud, sweaty. Like, makes me wonder why I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, but I didn't give two fucks. I was fighting my friends. I think we even set up a YouTube channel. We're talking years ago, like Coventry Fight Club, and we'd put fucking us fighting each other on YouTube. I don't know even where the videos have gone. But, I've went up in a tangent. How did he even get on the subject? Fighting. Yes, I pretty much knew that I was going to end up fighting. It's just something I've always gravitated to. I've always liked combat, especially like on a one-on-one format. Like I felt when I played rugby, for example, having the team was a hindrance. I'd catch myself blaming my teammates and so on and so forth. As soon as it got to one-on-one, it was, either my fault for winning or for losing, So yeah, I definitely gravitated towards the combat.
Do you think, in terms of, if you gravitated towards combat, what do you think? Have you ever thought about the reason why you did? Was it like the challenge of it? Was it the fact that you just enjoyed the adrenaline rush, the intensity?
Yeah. So, I found this out in later years. It's not a nice thing, but I think I enjoy hurting people.
Okay.
Enough, unfortunately, I worked the door for 3 or 4 years, a few years ago, and I always enjoy getting to scraps. I wouldn't beat people up without the necessary need of beating people up, but I would always enjoy beating up, bullies and so on and so forth. I think, of course, I like the challenge. I like if a workout's hard, I love a hard workout. There's no two ways about it. But I think at the end of the day, I just enjoy violence. I enjoy almost being hurt and hurting other people. There's something, I don't know, primal about it.
Yeah.
So it's a good job you're not an accountant then, isn't it?
Dude, I've talked about this so much. I could definitely not hold down an normal job. I think my brother was telling me about like some office politics and some guys like talking shit behind his back, and I was like, dude, like, where's your office? I want to go smash these cones. Like, I couldn't deal with this,
So it's funny you mentioned your brother, because if I remember correctly, when I was training with you, he was doing like a documentary on one of your first fights.
Yes, yeah. He's got some great material. I think so that was, I don't know university too well, but like the final project thing, I think. So I think it's like a 40-minute documentary on YouTube. I can't even remember the name, The Journey or We Come to Fight, something along these lines. But you can find it on YouTube. But that was like his final piece for university. I think it followed me maybe until the Aiden Lee fight, but I can't remember exactly. But it's good. He honestly, when I see somebody so passionate and so good with film, like I don't give compliments out easily, and I know my brother's very, very good when it comes to camera stuff.
As it gets a peek behind the curtain as well. I remember kind of being in training, there'd be cameras dotted about. You'd be like, "What's going on there?" And then now you see like he was before the time with like UFC embedded and things like that.
Trust me. And funnily enough as well, he hated MMA before I got into it. It's human cockfighting. I was like, no, look, it's a sport, I promise you, and then he eventually got into it, and now he's hooked, you know what I mean? A proper fan, a diehard fan. So it's good.
So did you start off with MMA? Was MMA your first martial art?
Yeah. So I started with MMA. Man, I didn't even know what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. I didn't know what anything was. Like, it was just MMA I started with. I did a bit of karate way back when I was maybe 11. I went with my dad. But I remember like we maybe did it for 6 months. I thought I was pretty badass again. I've got a problem with being overconfident. This is exactly why I don't gamble. You know what I mean? I go all in on the first move. So I did like maybe 6 months of karate. I thought, man, I'm pretty fucking confident. On the playground with my friends, I sort of got the karate stance because he was like, yeah, look, I box, like karate shit. And I was like, nah, fuck off. Like karate's real good. Got my karate stance. He slapped me in front of everybody. I thought, okay, cool. Dude, karate's fucking shite. I didn't even have a guard, just my fucking, shit. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. So I quit karate. I thought, fuck that. Then I just went into rugby. But yeah, so MMA was my first sort of martial art that I actually dedicated myself to. And then to get to Lions Gym, that's when somebody told me about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Gracie Barra. And obviously Lions Gym is a Gracie Barra Academy. So that's why I traveled and changed my gym originally, was because of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I sort of specialized in that for a few years,
That's because I was going to ask that question. We've done a few podcasts recently where people have kind of said there was a boxer traditionally, there was a Thai boxer traditionally, or there was jiu-jitsu. And then we were saying like back in the day, everybody was like raving about Rory McDonald. He was the first guy to just do MMA. Where do you reckon in terms of your training now? Do you reckon being a generalist is the right way?
It is a tricky one. I think it really does depend on individual skill sets. Like you can see some specialists that can pick up the different martial arts fantastically. Trying to think off the top of my head, but people along the lines, BJ Penn, he was a jiu-jitsu specialist, really cracking striker. The Diaz brothers, there are many specialists that have picked up the opposite style, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, whatever, and ran with it and done really well. Like we see Usman now with the boxing. Yeah. But then also you've got the Ben Askrens and people that are movement retarded, So that's the problem, right? It's like, I really do think it depends on people's skill sets.
I think it's Dan Hardy that always, to me, he seems to suggest that, the next generation of fighters are still to come. The next generation of people, I guess, like yourself, are still going through the works and arriving into the UFC. And I think that's quite interesting. I don't know when that's going to happen, when the like singularity moment's going to happen, when suddenly it's like, whoa, everyone's trained MMA.
Yeah, like what you saw originally, I think when we're seeing the next generation, it's more of the athletes, you know, like we've seen originally fighters, you know, and then the odd martial artists like the Hoist Gracie and stuff, but fighters and martial artists, you know, either, you know, brawlers, but, you know, people that are dedicated to martial art, but they'll never, you know, actual athletes, people that were almost like Olympians and how they go about training. So now we're seeing a whole concoction of all three of those elements. And I think that's when we're looking at modern MMA. Obviously, I think the skill will forever develop and change. As long as they don't change the rule set like we see with things like jiu-jitsu and wrestling, that will start to damage the sport. As long as they keep it somewhat open, I think the sport will forever develop. And I think it's, you know, when we see the big change, it will be, like I said, the bringing in of, you know, the actual athlete part of the sport, you know. But
do you think, just along the lines of that, along the lines of athletes entering the MMA, I was watching an interesting interview with Dan again. I'm a big Dan Hardy fan, and he was talking about how nowadays, for example, someone like Usman is more of an athlete in the sense of the way he fights is not like a true fighter's fighter. He's not a Dan Hardy, he's not a Masvidal or someone like or Nick or Nate Diaz. And I'm curious whether you think, do you think there's people are still gravitating more towards the fighters, like true fighters, or are the athletes still, you know, bringing enough of value that the sport is growing?
Do you mean in terms of fans gravitating?
Yeah, I mean in terms of fans.
I would definitely say so. I mean, especially nowadays, we're seeing, I don't know, fighting's going to a direction that is, I know it's changing. You know what I mean? We're seeing I don't even know the Jake Paul, Ben Askren, these types. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't consider them a fighter, but they're almost like shows, you know.
Yeah.
So I think the fans, I don't know. I think the modern generation, maybe people are just a little bit more stupid. But I don't know. I feel I would say people are definitely gearing towards the fighters. You know, obviously people like Masvidal, in my opinion, shouldn't have probably got the title fight. You know, not this title fight with Usman at this stage anyway. But because obviously the fans want the fighters, want the McGregors, want the Masvidals, I think they will always lead the way. You know, in terms of pay-per-views and so on and so forth, they're just far more exciting. You know what I mean?
If you look at like Sean O'Malley and then Usman is like unreal. He's next level kind of talent, and he's probably got a tenth of the amount of eyeballs that Sean O'Malley has. And it's he gets high and has weird hair. And don't get me wrong, he's fucking impressive, right? But Usman is arguably more impressive, but doesn't get anywhere near as much respect.
Yeah, I mean, with Usman, that is bananas. Like seeing his last performance, especially. I mean, just the way he controls people is phenomenal. Anyway, of course, it's not pleasing to the eye, but yeah, I don't understand the lack of respect, especially because people finally started to respect, for example, Khabib. You know, after they seen what he did to McGregor, and people started to almost respect. You know, like we've seen with Islam Makhachev as well. You know, people started to, you know, I mean, it wasn't a great fight in terms of entertainment, but, you know, everyone's praising him. So we're seeing this sort of praise now for these characters. These people are going out and winning fights, but still, for some reason, Usman gets hated on. You know, a bit more, more so now he got that jab. But
the jab is exciting.
Khabib's a funny one that you mentioned, because I reckon, and this is just kind of my finger in the air, there was a moment where he was the Johnson fight where he was saying, just give up, brother, this is my title shot. It was when he started beating people up and talking shit was when he really blew up, was when he was on top of somebody, when he was shouting at Dana White in the corner. And I think he crossed the line then into kind of being the bit of the hype as well as just being a dominant athlete. I think because Usman's unashamedly like, I'm just going to win the fight.
I mean, it's one of those, like, all the fighters as well, because everyone knew he was a monster. I mean, anybody from Dagestan is a monster. I remember, I don't know if you were at Lions, Andre used to bring Asma to teach wrestling.
Yes, yeah.
Flappy Asma. I remember wrestling with him. Obviously, he's Dagestani. I mean, he looked about 50, but he was younger than me. He was young, and he'd already been stabbed twice, and he'd got a wife, and he's got a son. It was bananas. But I remember wrestling him. He suplexed me about 10 times. I thought, okay, cool. Like, I'm not fucking with these people. You know, there's something about a Dagestani that terrifies me. Honestly. So like all the fighters and people that I trained with Dagestani sort of knew how legit Khabib was, but yeah, I agree, you know, it was wasn't until the average fan started to see, you know, him dismantle people while also talking to them, you know, it's pretty ruthless.
Does that come into your mind when you're kind of preparing for a fight? And I know kind of in the amateurs it's a bit different, right? But like now you're pro, does it cross your mind? Do you think about it?
What, in terms of like making it a bit more entertaining, or?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, because we've done chats previously around like the quickest way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be a lot of, if you get eyes on, if you're not doing spinning heel kicks and knocking people out, if you can get eyeballs on you, you'll get a call from a bigger promotion and things like that. Does it ever cross your mind, or are you just kind of solely focused on, I'm just going to beat people?
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, it's more so, I know that when I fight, especially recently, and how I'm performing in the gym, my fighting will do the talking. So, you know, I don't feel like I have to make a big scene in the fight, or, you know, any sort of weigh-in or press conference, etc. But it's just getting the fight at the minute. You know, thankfully I've been matched for June 26th, but I write a list of everybody that turns me down, because I've got a long list of people that will not fight me. And I get to a point I'm saying, cool, look, if I don't get a fight within 5 fights, I'm releasing this and I'm chatting shit. Like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? I'm not into no shit chatting, but if none of these bastards will fight me, you know, because, you know, everyone wants to pick and choose their fights nowadays, then yeah, I think this is the problem. This is where I will have to start to go down that route if I continue struggling to get fights. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I'm into that. Name and shame them, get them out.
Yes.
So how have you been struggling to get matched up recently?
Oh yeah. So my upcoming fight, I've had to take it welterweight. I'm a lightweight. I mean, I cut a lot of weight anyway. I won't deny this. But just through height and stature, you know, I'm a lightweight. But I mean, look, I'll fight fucking anybody, you know. And I honestly mean that. You know, I see it as, for example, if somebody come and, you know, spit on my mum on the street, I don't give if that's Mike Tyson. I'm going to run and fucking nut the guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I got a tattoo on my chest. One of my favorite quotes. The devil on the other side of the fight. Ain't nobody going to beat the devil. But if I'm guaranteed to lose, I don't give two fucks. I'm going to go there. I'm going to fight the cunt. You know what I mean? I'm going to give it my all. So when I say I'll fight anybody, I'll fight anybody. You know, so whether that's lightweight, welterweight, fuck it, I'll even fight a middleweight. You know what I mean? I spar middleweights. It's not a problem. You know, so I told the promoter, I told the managers this, and no lightweights wanted to fight me, so it had to be a welterweight. You know.
God, I think when last time I saw you fight, you was a featherweight. You was a skinny kid.
Yeah.
You had hair as well.
Oh, mate, don't even get me started on that. You know what? That was working the door. Honestly, working the door. And when I say this, a lot of people think I'm exaggerating. I'm not even joking. I was on a Friday, I would get maybe 1 or 2 hours sleep. On a Saturday, get 1 or 2 hours sleep. I had to work on a Monday as well. Every time I walk the door, I get like 1 or 2 hours sleep. You know, fuck me, it was horrific, and I just lost my hair. Disaster,
man. So when you were sort of coming up and like going through amateur, was that what you were kind of doing? You were working doors and teaching. Was that kind of the thing you were doing?
Yeah. So I mean, my original plan was to be a personal trainer, sort of gym based, and that was sort of the qualification route I was going down. Like, I'll do some hours, for example, behind the Lions Gym desk. The guy who owns Lions Gym also owned a corner shop, so I'll go and, you know, do hours there. I'll do the odd painting and fucking labouring work. I was doing anything to make money so I could train more or less every evening, you know. And in terms of teaching martial art, for some bizarre reason, that never crossed my mind, you know. Like, I'll cover the odd warm-up here and there, and you just sort of fall into it accidentally. Then you cover a class, and then somebody comes in and says they want a one-to-one. It's like, oh shit, okay, cool, yeah, whole pads here. And it just sort of transpired from there, you know. And then, you know, now I can afford to be a full-time coach. You know, I've got to actually turn people away for one-to-ones because I'm that busy, which is fantastic, you know. So, I mean, I started off, like I said, working on the gym counter, and because I wasn't getting enough money, you know, I was living on my own. That's when I had to start to work the door and make ends meet. But then, yeah, I soon stopped that. I got in trouble with the police, and I mean, the gym owner, Raj, he's like a brother to me. He told me every day, stop working the door, you know. I mean, look, I'm not an imposing person. I'm fucking, you know, 5'7" on a good day. You know, if somebody was going to fight a guy in the door, it was always me. you know. So every night I'd get into trouble. So I finally called that quits, and thankfully I could afford to, like I said, make a living off just coaching and fighting.
That's awesome. And I think it always interests me how people like yourself find the determination to keep it going and keep the fire going within, you know, training and doing that kind of stuff. I think you have to really love it, right? I don't know, is that what you think? Is that you think you have that fucking passion for it, and even though, you know, you've got to make ends meet and do those things, you're still gonna fucking train?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really put much thought to it. So funny enough, I haven't actually told nobody online, but before my last fight, which was sort of 2020 don't exist, right? So 2019, surprising as it is, what was it? September 2019, basically 5 weeks prior to this fight, I blew my knee out in training.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't grapple. My knee would lock up. Turns out it was a torn meniscus, but I didn't have it scanned or anything. I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to do what I can. I'm going to get this fight out of the way. And I tried to fiddle the health insurance, which didn't go planned. But I had basically a year off training, you know, while I was trying to fiddle the health insurance to get some sort of surgery. All I could literally do was boxing. Couldn't kick, couldn't grapple. And from there, other than teach, from there, I really realized how important this is to me. You know, like I said, it was just something I did. Of course, I was passionate about it, but I never, you know, it's one of those things. It's cliche, but you don't realize how important it is to you until it's gone, sort of thing. You know, and when I couldn't grapple, especially with the jiu-jitsu for a whole year, which was the longest I hadn't grappled for, I really realized how important it is to my life. And it's somewhat terrifying, to be fair, because if it does get stolen away from me for whatever reason, God forbid, I don't even know where I would be. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you don't realize the threat of it being taken away, and then you go, shit.
Exactly, you know, and how easily that can happen, you know, especially with knee accidents.
I suppose not to dwell on the bad side of COVID, I suppose if there's any silver lining, you've probably had a year to kind of recover and grow strong.
Yeah, so that was the plan, to be fair. I mean, like I said, I had my fight in September and I thought, cool, so I'm going to take out an insurance policy. As dodgy as it comes, because I knew. So basically, Melissa, you just saw, she's making her pro debut this year as well. But when she first started training, she blew out her ACL and MCL, literally within the first month, and had to have full surgery. And I've seen the whole process. Look, I'm not going to knock the NHS, but for athletes, the NHS is garbage. You know, obviously, if you go there with a knife in your stomach, fantastic. But if you're an athlete, it doesn't cut the mustard. You know, so we go there, we've got to wait 6 months for a scan, then another fucking month or two for results, and then surgery. And then she was out for a year and a half. You know, and that was when I was sitting there after I blew my knee out, thinking, oh fuck, you know. So, like I said, I tried to go through the process of filling the health insurance, and then literally just as it started, just as I was about to go through the process of getting the surgery, COVID hit, and basically, they found out that, you know, I did it prior and I tried to fuck them over, and I had to basically pay for it privately. But it did work out in my favor in that sense. Like you said, you know, I had somewhat of this time to recover, you know, which was somewhat a blessing in disguise, you know.
I want to get into that actually, because I know you're there. There's a lot of hype around your girlfriend as well. She's a big name in female MMA at the minute. Yeah,
you know what? She hits like a man. I remember when she first come to the gym, I swear to God, when she first come to the gym, and like I felt her strength, because she used to break dance and do bits of gymnastics and stuff. And when we're talking about physical base, I mean, she's a specimen anyway as a female. When we're looking at physical, you know, attributes or bases that give you these attributes, I'd say, you know, things where it takes such a balanced coordination and, you know, understanding the body weight, like breakdancing and gymnastics, are fantastic. But yeah, so she come to the gym and she was throwing me around, drilling technique, and I was thinking immediately, fucking hell, like, this girl's strong, you know. And organically, she was a better grappler than a striker, but then the more effort she's put into her striking, I mean, I can't remember a record off by heart, but she's got 5 or 6 wins, all by KO or TKO, you know, which is unheard of by a female. I mean, that's not happened in female MMA in the UK, you know. That's a fact. No females in the UK have knocked or TKO'd that many girls out. You know, she's got the silver in the Europeans. She lost a dodgy decision in the first round of the Worlds in the IMAFs. But yeah, she's a big thing. And again, in typical MMA fashion, struggling to get fights because not many people want to get knocked out, you know.
So you're a product of your own success, aren't you? You kind of,
that's the problem, right?
If you're too good coming up as an amateur and people have got a lot of footage to look at, they're kind of scared off and go, don't fancy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, you know, it's one thing being choked out, I can deal with that, you know what I mean? But then it's another thing, you know, fighting Paul Daly and knowing that your head is going to be, you know, no longer attached to your body, you know what I mean? So,
I find it interesting. Sorry. I find it interesting how someone like Ryan Hall struggles to get so many. Like, no one wants to fight him apparently, and he's not a person necessarily that you'd think, oh fuck, he's gonna. I mean, he might tear your knee away. That's one thing. Maybe that's what people are scared of. But
I think what's really interesting about Ryan Hall is I don't know who was the mastermind behind it, because Ryan Hall is super intelligent. Whether it's Fraz Zahabi, again, another super intelligent person. But it's the different approach to a jiu-jitsu player entering, like a specialist jiu-jitsu player entering MMA. And such a significant change from, let's say, its Ultimate Fire days till now. Traditionally, you get a jiu-jitsu guy and you're thinking, fucking hell, your jiu-jitsu fantastic. We just need to do wrestling, you know? And now, no matter how much a jiu-jitsu guy practice wrestling, he ain't never taken down a wrestler. Just ain't happening, you know? And what Fraz has done, or maybe Ryan Hall's done, is transformed him almost into a karate fighter, you know. So he plays it super long, you know, a range that's super awkward for a lot of MMA fighters, and throws funky kicks that, you know, MMA fighters don't tend to spar against. So you're forced to break that distance down and bridge that gap. And then when you do, you're at risk of being, you know, clinched up and whatever, put into some sort of entanglement. I think it's a genius approach to a jiu-jitsu, especially jiu-jitsu player, you know.
I say you can throw spinning kicks with reckless abandon, because if you jump in and go, I've got you back, like, lo and behold. Yeah. So then, kind of now, I'd say, what's your kind of split then of training for? Because I know when I knew you very well, you was more jiu-jitsu based. You've definitely put a bit of muscle on over the years. What was your split now? Like, how much do you value strength and conditioning over skills? Because I mean, black belt BJJ, is that kind of now secondary, or how does it work for you? Yeah,
so I mean, with my jiu-jitsu, I haven't since I got my black belt, I haven't trained gi jiu-jitsu. I've said it before, in terms of, I didn't really want my black belt, just because I didn't feel like I could put enough effort into my jiu-jitsu to where, you know, I felt comfortable having a black belt around my waist. You know what I mean? Like, the plan was to sort of retire from MMA, like most people do, and go and really hit the gi hard and play with all the gi relevant techniques, and then, you know, happily have a black belt around my waist. But like, I won't try and touch the gi. If I roll in a gi, I'll be doing underhooks, I'll be doing your basic no gi moves, just because I understand the importance, you know, for those movements to be, you know, to transition to MMA. But yeah, in terms of gi jiu-jitsu, that's non-existent. Obviously, no gi is huge, wrestling's huge, but it's a 50-50 split. You know, it like literally straight down the middle in terms of striking and grappling sessions. Some grappling sessions will be MMA orientated, wrestling and grappling with ground and pound. Some will just be isolated, like yesterday, in terms of just jiu-jitsu rounds. And then some will just be wrestling sessions, and then vice versa with the boxing, the Thai, and the MMA striking. But it is literally a 50-50 split. I'm a little bit OTT. I'm a little bit insane with my timetable. Everyone gets shocked, but I timetable everything. I have timetabled this. You know, I timetable how much sleep I've got, how long it takes me to get to the gym, how far I travel. I'm a little bit nuts, man. I go to Alton Towers and a timetable when I'm going to get to a ride, how long I'm going to go. I swear to God. Then what ride I'm going to go to next.
That's awesome.
I took Melissa to Barcelona. I timetabled how long we're going to be on a beach, you know, relaxing. Honestly, I'm nuts, you know. Everything's a timetable.
You're fucking.
There's a thing about that. I read a thing and it was saying, like, Jeff Bezos,
Elon Musk.
They remove decisions. You get decision fatigue. So you shouldn't think about what clothes you wear. You shouldn't think about what you have for breakfast. You should focus on what you're doing. So it's funny you say that, because there's logic behind it, I suppose.
That's exactly what I feel. I got a to-do list for each day, you know. So you know, I don't have to think in my head, man, what do I do today? I just look, okay, cool, that's what I've got to do, you know. It's just I'm nuts.
Just well organized, man. I seriously highly rate that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I need a bit of that in my life.
Yeah, same. Supposedly, I'm a fucking engineer, and I'm nowhere near as organized as you are, mate. So, but I'm actually interested then. So when you're training, are you when you're training for a fight, when you're training for once you have a fight, obviously, as difficult as it is for you,
Yeah.
what is the process of are you game planning against someone? Because I would imagine when at this stage, when it's not someone, you know, like you're not fighting in a big organization, like massive organization like UFC, I'm guessing some of the people you fight may have not had a huge amount of fights, so it might be hard to find material on those people. Do you then just kind of focus on yourself, on making sure that you're the best you can be, and not and find some material that you can and trying to game plan around there?
Yeah, so I mean, finding footage is always tricky. Less tricky nowadays, to be fair. Most fights are on YouTube, you know, thankfully in that respect. But it's tricky, and what I've found in the lower stages of MMA, be it amateur or pro, just because people by right should be improving very rapidly. You know, so for example, when you get to the UFC, Bellator, wherever these higher stages of MMA, you don't really see huge improvements from fight to fight. Not distinctive, you know what I mean? It doesn't look like night and day between the fighters. But I mean, at a lower level amateur and a low level pro, in reality, there should be huge differences. You know, they should be like a sponge and absorbing it. So I might see footage of one of the fighter I'm fighting from last year that's saying, by right, when I fight him this year, he should be considerably different. So I don't, I take it almost with a pinch of salt. Of course, I'll have certain ideas that I'll gravitate, you know, my sparring and stuff around. For example, when I fought Aiden Lee, I mean, it was a very simple game plan. I just noticed when I fought him, he would fight conventional and he'll drift to his left every time with a jab or a left hook. So I just let him jab me and I low kicked him. You know, it was very, very simple. And then go to my organic wrestling from there. So yeah, there'll be game plans in mind for sure, especially as I coach fighters now as well. I'm very much into trying to build game plans, but it's, I mean, you always focus on yourself. That goes without saying. We're martial artists, you know, I'm thinking bigger picture. Sometimes some of my fighters can think, oh, I want a game plan for this fight, a game plan for this fighter, you know, but then they forget about, you know, maybe increasing their own weaknesses because they're focused too much on the game plan. They're forgetting 5 years down the line. You know what I mean? When we get to the UFC, you've got to be bulletproof. You know what I mean? So it's trying to get the fine balance between these two. And then also understanding, like I said, at the lower levels, man, people are making such drastic improvements, or at least they should be. It's hard for the game plan to possibly have effect, you know?
I completely agree with you, but I will say there is some exceptions. Like Francis Ngannou learned how to wrestle.
And Usman learned how to jab and knock somebody out with it.
That's true. That is true.
There are exceptions, 100%.
But I guess this is where like the athlete thing comes in, right? Because I guess like Francis Ngannou, maybe he's not. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't an athlete as such, but he was a fucking specimen. And Usman as well, I guess. But he did some wrestling, I guess.
He was Olympic reserve, wasn't he? He was proper.
Yeah.
I want to know. It's a shame Robbie's not here because Robbie has strong opinions about this. The other guy who does the podcast with us. Sparring. Robbie is very much kind of like really conscious of kind of head traumas and things like that. There's a big trend at the minute of UFC fighters saying, I don't do any hard sparring anymore. Max Holloway's a big example. I listened to Leon Edwards on Joe Rogan say out of camp he doesn't spar hard.
Mm-hmm.
What does sparring look for you? Are you being the shower people?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a fighter, so I can get carried away. You know, there's no two ways about it. Sometimes me and my heavyweight, you know, as stupid as that is, a lightweight sparring a heavyweight, we'll drop our gloves and we'll trade. You know what I mean? You know, sometimes it's just like, let's get a dick out on the table and let's see who's bigger. You know. But again, I got PVD on my right eye, so that's a step before a detached retina. So basically, I see, and this is through sparring, I see like black spots everywhere, as if there's flies. So you know, swat flies, but there are no flies. It's just my eyes fucked. I'm going deaf through head trauma. Basically, you've got bones behind your eardrums. These have been broken. So I've got to wear hearing aids to hear properly. And again, through head trauma, through sparring. So I understand the dangers of sparring. You know what I mean? So I definitely try and keep it more playful, where you can come out of your shell and experiment with different techniques. So I mean, I won't name gyms, but I've gone to a gym before. Let's just say it's in London, and they spar every day, and they spar to knock you out. You know what I mean? They're throwing elbows, they're throwing knees, and I don't think this is the most intelligent way of sparring, because you just go to plan A. You know what I mean? You never get to fucking try and practice a technique that you've been doing on the mix, or whatever. I mean, of course, you get that fight realism. You know, you get pretty fucking confident, but like I said, I'm losing my hearing. I've got a fucked up right eye. It's maybe not the best thing to do for longevity, at least. You know,
it seems a difficult balance to strike. Like because I understand the argument that you want, especially an upcoming fighter, to understand, you know, to be have the heat of battle before they get to the ring. But at the same time, where it's, for me, it's like, where is the moment where you need to chill out? Because even someone like Max Holloway, they obviously sparred hard for a long time in their career. And maybe if they hadn't, maybe they wouldn't have got where they are. But now, obviously, he's well set in his career and he can do that. So it's like, where is that moment where you kind of chill out? Yeah,
I completely agree. Like, I've used, again, Andre and Jimmy, as they're quite prolific in my life. But in reality, in my opinion, I think they could possibly do just not sparring. You know, they're at such a high level and at a peak of their technique. You know, maybe it could just be refining and getting sharp and getting in shape. You know, because like I said, they've done all those rounds. You know, I don't get me wrong. I think if a beginner comes to me and says, I don't want to spar, you know, because Max Holloway said he don't spar, so you're a fucking idiot. Yeah. You know what I mean? You need to spar, you need to understand timing and range and so on and so forth. But yeah, once you've done those thousands and thousands of rounds and put in all those fights, and again, Max Holloway, he typically isn't a finisher, right? He goes to war, he goes 3 or 5 rounds. The amount of rounds that man's put in that octagon, you know, it makes sense for him always not to spar and to look after his brain. I mean, he already sounds a bit punchy, you know, so it just seems an intelligent move.
Because he's had a few issues as well with weight cuts and things like that. So I think, like you said, with new people, right, it's a good test, right? I want to fight. And everybody comes into the gym, right? How many people have you seen come in and go, I want to fight? And you go, okay.
Oh, too many. And
then you do a hard sparring session with them and you don't see them again. There was a few times where you hit me in the gym and I thought, I'm not going back. But, like, it happens, right? And whilst you're new and whilst you've not had many fights, I think you do need a bit of that hard sparring. Do you actually like it? Are you tough? Have you got a bit of a heart? Like, now you've got a few problems, like you've said. You can probably dial it down a little bit. You know you're tough. Like, you know you've got the heart for it. You know if it comes to it, you can stand there and do it. So actually doing more pads and doing more drilling is probably the right thing to do. You said, like, Jimmy and Andre, they've kind of been in there forever. They've done how many ever rounds. They know what distance is. I think there's a line, and I think probably historically people have stopped a bit too late. They've waited for injury to come in, or they've waited for serious injury to come in. Whereas I think people are getting smarter now and going, actually, I can't go full clip 5 days a week.
Yeah, no, I'll completely agree. But he's trying to find and strike the balance, trying to decide when that line's to be drawn. You know, that's the tricky part. Because there is high risk. But I think it's almost like a short-term risk as well, like we see with the shooter box, you know. Short-term, fantastic. You know what I mean? Again, the gym that I won't mention in London, short-term, some of their fighters are fantastic. But again, traditionally, their longevity is done. You know, so they might peak in their mid to late 20s, but then they're done after 30. You know what I mean? But nowadays, I mean, look at what we're seeing in the UFC. And again, this is where the athlete portion of it comes into play. We're seeing champions at late 30s. You know what I mean? People fighting mid-30s and still fighting at a very competent level. This is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unheard of, unless we're talking a pre-USADA. You know what I mean? So
TRT Vitor is still the phenomenon. Yeah, you say you fight anybody, but I don't know about TRT Vitor. I think it's get more.
To be fair, the one person I only go, I don't mind being knocked out. It's quite pleasant, surprising. It's who's more Paul Harris. I would not fight that man. He's the one man I wouldn't fight. You know, fuck that. I don't want to blow my knee out again, so I'd pass on that. But fuck it, I'd fight TRT Vitor.
I saw him at Polaris, one of the first Polaris when he fought Daytona. He is an absolute unit.
Yeah.
It's inhuman.
Like
And
in
then
the
just
day,
think
like,
him attack with a heel hook. Just, oh God.
I was sat on the end of the row and he had to walk past me to get to the bit where he was competing. I'm like, I'm not taking the piss. The floor shook as he walked past. I completely appreciate why you'd never get in with him. Like,
Honestly, I would not do it. I would not do it. I can't work out if he's just nasty or just full retard. I can't work it out, but he's one of them, you know.
But there is something about like getting knocked out, getting punched, you know how that feels. It's all right, but getting your knee tweaked, that just doesn't even, I've never had it properly tweaked, and it just gets me.
Dude, it's the aftermath. Like I said, mine was a meniscus problem, so my cartilage had tore in such a way it would sort of flap about and would get caught in my knee joint. So if I would kneel, it would get caught in my knee joint and it would lock. And it's such a strange sensation to explain, but I would literally just freeze and fall down. I know I joke a little bit crude, but I'm having sex one day, you know, my knee locks up, and I just like fall to the side. That's not a situation you want to be locked up in, you know what I mean? It's like, honestly, absolute agony, you know. And I see people with torn ligaments, you know, they'll be walking down the street and the knee will just slip, you know, because it hasn't got no support and they'll just fall over. It's just, oh shit, you know, it's a horrible thing.
so, well, there's kind of one more thing I wanted to cover was from your Instagram. It looks like you've turned your flat into a bit of a MMA dungeon.
Yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got my illegal training going on as well. I've got gyms, and we've actually got caught by the police twice, bastards. But on one of the days as well, there were 4 stabbings in the UK, but they sent 2 cop cars to my gym. Come on. But no, I'm not using Lions Gym. If there's any cops watching, I'm using another gym. But yeah, I've rented like a downstairs flat as well, and we've sort of matted that out. So Melissa does a bit of PTs there, and we do some training there as well. And then we go to a couple of different gyms around the country. I mean, I've always been one to travel. So we train over in Birmingham, we train in Northampton, in Wolverhampton. And then there's a gym in Coventry I go and use as well. So we're here, there and everywhere.
So you're still taking over kind of like when does camp start for the next fight? How long do you kind of give it? Is it because I know everybody's obsessed with camps now, aren't they? Like, is that something you stick to?
No, I don't understand fight camp. Most people that come to me, again, I've had my fair share of fighters, and they could piss me off, you know, because this is where I see and why I enjoy jiu-jitsu guys, and you'll know yourself. Like, when do jiu-jitsu guys not train?
Yeah,
they're training year round. You know what I mean? Like, jiu-jitsu guys don't.
He's all over the show
for their competitions. You know what I mean? They're like proper geeky and they love it and they just train all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but then I get MMA guys and they get their fight and then they don't turn up. Like training the next week. Where the fuck are you gone? Oh yeah, I won't train until I got a fight. Huh? You know, there's Tom, Dick and Harry who just work in the office and they're training night and day. You know, just because they love it, and you're an actual fighter claiming to be an athlete, and you won't train until you got 12 weeks before a fight. I'm not a believer in fight camps. I train year round. I'm a martial artist in that respect. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like there'll be less excuses. So I might miss a session, you know, because I want to have a wank or something. That won't happen. You know what I mean? When I got a fight coming up, we're on. You know, I'm coming to every session. You know, I'm going full intensity. The only thing that changes is my diet. That's it. You know what I mean? My training more or less stays the same. There might be a few different things added, but the diet's the big thing. You know, the whole people talking about this fight camp, I don't understand. You should be in a fight camp year round. You know? Yeah.
Diet's an interesting one. As you can probably tell, I'm not great at it. What does a diet consist of? Do you get professional advice? Do you go to a dietitian, nutritionist? Is it boring chicken rice like I used to do?
No, you know what? Diet's one of those things. I mean, training is one of these things as well. People have in my opinion, people have a tendency to really overcomplicate. You know, for example, let's say getting stronger. Of course, there'll be some strength and conditioning coaches that will argue with me when we're talking about finite details, but go and fucking lift heavy. Go and push yourself. You know what I mean? Train consistently, train hard. You know, you want to get back better, turn up on the mat. You know, when we're looking at diet, you want to gain weight, eat more, train less, maybe, you know. When you want to lose weight, you want to fucking train a bit more, eat a little bit less. You know, it's really quite logical. So I just reduce my calories. You know, I make sure I'm drinking enough water. I make sure I've got like a protein goal. I'll hit this. And I eat lots and lots of vegetables. I think this is crucial, and what a lot of people miss out on. I'll be having about 10 fruits and vegetables a day. I really try and consume a lot of vegetables, for the micronutrients. But in terms of losing weight, like I said, some people can hire all these nutritionists and pay all this crazy money. It's really quite simple, I find. People get shocked, but my weight, 20 kilo. I lose 20 kilo to fight. And it's not a challenge. Not a challenge.
I mean, that is a fucking crazy weight cut. But in the actual, so I'm guessing you cut a lot calorie based until you get to the week when you do water loading, right? And then how much, like 10%?
No, more than 10%. So
more than 10%. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll lose 8 to 10 kilo in. We're talking 8 weeks or so. So about a kilo a week. So I'll come in 10 days before the fight. I'll be 82 kilograms, and I'm weighing in at 70.7. Through my water loading process, and I play with my carbohydrates and my salt. And this is just something I've experimented on myself and my other fighters. I'll lose 6 kilo up until the Thursday. So let's say I'll weigh in Friday morning. So on Thursday morning, I'll wake up about 76 kilograms. So I would have lost 6 kilograms there just through the water loading, the carbohydrate change. And then I'll passively sweat 6 kilograms through Thursday and then Friday morning.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, and what you say is so important as well. I think for athletes like yourself, and just generally MMA fighters you're constantly in contact with other people and like you're exchanging liquids and stuff, having a good micronutrient based diet, like having a good micronutrient base is so important because your immune system needs to be strong and all those things. Do you know people who like get sick a lot or something like that when they're training?
No, I mean, I've felt it myself. Again, it might just be my mind playing tricks on me, but like normally after a fight, I have a bad weight cut or a big weight cut. Sorry, so we're talking 2 weeks after the fight. I'm not touching no vegetables. You know what I mean? I'm just eating shite food, and literally, I feel worse than when I was cutting weight. You know what I mean? Like, fucking fucked. It's bad. It's not good. And as soon as I start to put some vegetables in again, I feel pretty sound. No, not again. Like, look, this is pure bro science. I'm not a scientist here. I've got maybe 1 GCSE, but like when we look at people when they turn to veganism, right? You got somebody on a Western diet and they're eating kebabs all day, and then they go vegan and then start to eat some vegetables, and they're like, oh, I feel fantastic. It must be because I cut out meat. Well, maybe because you started to eat some broccoli, mate. But cool, for me. So I just logically, through seeing what other people have gone through and myself, I've just found vegetables to be so crucial. As stupid as it sounds, I don't know why people don't eat more vegetables. I like vegetables.
Yeah, same.
I don't know though. A good pizza is just as good though.
A veggie pizza.
None of that shit. I'm the kebab pizza. I'm the guy you look at with disgust and go, "You need more vegetables in your life."
That's why you're having trouble with your weight, mate.
Yeah, I am. Because I keep blaming lockdown. It's just I'm a fat bastard.
Like, you just got to be real to yourself, but then own it. You know what I mean? Like, say if I miss a session, like I'll say straight, I'm being a bitch. Melissa's like, "Why are you missing a session?" Melissa, I'm being a bitch. I don't want to train today. I'm not going to make some bullshit. Oh, my toenail hurts. Some shit like this. Just be honest with yourself. That's a
good point, actually. Kind of living with your girlfriend, and I know when I used to compete, my girlfriend was just like, "You're an idiot. Like, what are you doing?" And like, your girlfriend trains, she fights. Does that help? Do you hold each other accountable? Is there like, get up, you lazy bastard, do something today, and that kind of stuff?
100%. I mean, she doesn't like watching fights. She's just getting into it a little bit more now. So I would love that, to be able to sit and watch like a whole UFC event with her and break down the ins and outs of the fights and stuff, which she's just getting into. But I mean, in terms of accountability for training and not having, again, when you were at Lions Gym, I might have had an old missus, but like, and that was a long-term relationship, and she would routinely try and hold me back from the gym. You know what I mean? Which I hear most people in their relationships, that's the problem they come up against. Again, Melissa's a blessing. I have no problem. We go and train together. You know what I mean? We'll go and spar. I'll spar obviously the guys, she'll spar the girls, whatever. We'll train in the same facility. So it's not like we're apart in that sense. And she's not on my ass. Oh, why aren't you home? You know what I mean? It's fantastic. And also, like you said, the accountability. If I am feeling lazy, sometimes she just kick me up in the ass. Go train. That's sometimes all you need. It's fantastic. I recommend it.
That's awesome. I think, but it's so true. I mean, you look at the really successful UFC fighters. I was recently watching a documentary about Demetrius, just like a small video from the the guy who does he did loads of stuff on Khabib and Dagestan. I think it's
the black dude, right? He was on
Joe Rogan podcast. Exactly. I can't remember the name of his show now, but never mind. But he did a video on Dwayne, on Mighty Mouse, and his wife is his like biggest fan. Is like supporting him all the time, and you see the really successful fighters, all their partners, they're really supportive. And
Stipe Miocic,
exactly.
McGregor,
Conor McGregor, massive, exactly. So it's I feel, especially for an athlete, it's such an important part of their life to have someone who supports you in that journey, because it's hard enough as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a mental battle. You guys will know, when you get into training. I mean, for me, even somebody who's super passionate about it, of course, I'd rather, sit on the sofa, and play some Call of Duty of some sort, the motivation to get to the gym is the hardest part. And you're always having that battle in your head. Like I've said it before, when I'm driving to the gym, I get to a point in the road where, it's my last point I can turn around. And I can turn around and go home. And I'm arguing with myself in the head, man, trying to make excuses. Oh, my toe hurts. Oh, there's going to be nobody there. I'm trying to argue myself enough, so I turn around at this last point. I end up driving past it thinking, fuck, man, I'm going to go train now. But it's like the motivation to get to the gym or to get to wherever you're training is the hardest part. Once you're there, it's fantastic. But if you've got somebody else in the background, stay at home. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. And I've seen it, with my fighters and people that come to my gym, it can be a real struggle with them,
I used to struggle with that when I was at Lions, because I had to walk past Lions from university to go home to get my gear and come back. And just weirdly, psychologically, it's hard to then get yourself up. And it always was that fight with yourself to get off the couch. And I suppose if your missus is going to the gym with you, or she's ready for a fight as well, it's kind of like you've got your internal battle, but you've also got somebody else being like, come on.
They also know how it feels to go to have that mental battle as well, which is like part of the puzzle. Yeah.
No, definitely.
Cool. So I think we're probably going to wind into an end. I suppose, is there anything else from you, Alex?
Nothing coming to mind right now.
Well, I just want to say cheers for coming on, and thanks for giving us a glimpse into your life as a madman.
I'm fucking nuts.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks very much, James.
No worries.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please consider subscribing to the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram under the name Combat Thoughts. We'll see you next time.